Welcome, everyone, to vpod.ai. I'm Mike, and I'm joined by our guest, Susan. You can sponsor this podcast for just $25. Your message will be featured across major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and more. If you're interested, visit vpod.ai to get started today. So, let me just ask you this. If I handed you like $317,000 today, you'd take it, right?
I mean, absolutely.
Right. But what if I told you that you are probably going to just throw that exact amount in the trash over the next few decades simply because you think you aren't, I don't know, quote unquote, smart enough to start investing yet?
Yeah, it's wild to think about.
Because today we are doing a deep dive into dismantling really the biggest lie in personal finance.
And, that lie being the idea that building wealth is just fundamentally tied to a massive, six-figure salary.
Right. People always assume that.
Exactly. We are so culturally conditioned to believe that if you aren't bringing home just a fortune every single month, then the gates to financial security are just permanently locked for you. Like, we view wealth as the status you just unlock through high income.
But when you actually, strip away the noise and look at the actual mechanics of how the most financially secure people operate, that assumption just completely falls apart.
It really does.
Yeah, because we are looking at a financial landscape today that is entirely about sequence, right? Not salaries. This very specific, rigid order of operations.
Yeah.
And really, mastering this sequence is what separates people who build generational wealth from people who just, earn high incomes but stay perpetually broke.
Yeah, the distinction there between high income and high net worth is just crucial. I mean, you can out-earn terrible financial habits for a little while, but eventually that inefficiency just catches up with you.
Oh, totally.
Right. The people who actually build lasting security, they don't necessarily have astronomical paychecks, but they ruthlessly prioritize where their next dollar goes, basically based on mathematical efficiency.
Which is exactly what we are going to walk you through today.
Yeah.
So you can stop, over-intellectualizing this stuff and actually start. But before we get to the mechanical steps, I feel like we have to address this massive psychological trap.
The one that keeps people stuck at the starting line.
Exactly. The idea of perfectionism. I mean, we have this tendency to believe that doing more research is, always a productive use of our time.
Yeah, we really trick ourselves into thinking that inaction is just a neutral state. But it isn't.
Not at all.
No, in finance, inaction is literally an active decision to lose money. I mean, mathematically speaking, waiting around to fix a supposedly bad strategy or, waiting until you feel fully educated, it costs significantly more money than just making a suboptimal investment today.
Wow. Yeah.
The cost of delay completely dwarfs the cost of a slightly inefficient portfolio.
So let's actually put some real numbers to this, because the math of compounding is, it's vicious if you are on the wrong side of it. We always hear that tired cliche of a snowball rolling down a hill, right?
Right, which frankly doesn't really capture the urgency of it.
No, it doesn't. Let's look at the actual exponential velocity of money. So if you invest $100 and you earn a 10% return in the first year, you have $110.
Yeah.
You made $10.
And see, the human brain thinks linearly, which is why that $10 just doesn't impress us at all.
Right. We're like, big deal.
Exactly. We just assume year two will bring another $10. But compounding is geometric. So in year two, if the market grows another 10%, you don't just earn on your original $100.
You earn it on the whole thing.
Right. You earn 10% on the full $110. So your investment grows to $121. The returns are now literally generating their own independent returns.
That's where it gets crazy.
Yeah, the momentum starts to just decouple from your actual labor.
So let's scale that up to a real-life scenario from this deep dive. Let's take two 35-year-old friends, Sonia and Susie. So they both decide they want to secure their future. Sonia is, a bit nervous. She doesn't really know much about market fluctuations, but she decides to start anyway.
She just jumps in.
Yeah, she opens a basic account and starts investing $300 a month, earning, let's say, an average historical return of 8%.
Now, Susie takes the path that most highly intelligent, really analytical people take, right? She tells herself, well, I'm going to start once I've read a few more books, analyze the market trends, and feel, completely confident in my asset allocation.
So she treats research as this form of, productive procrastination. I know so many people who do this.
Oh, everyone does it. But here's the thing. 10 entire years pass before Susie finally feels, quote unquote, ready and starts investing that exact same $300 a month.
Okay, wait. So let me just internalize this math for a second. Sonia invests from age 35 to 65. So that's 30 years. Susie waits, so she invests from age 45 to 65, 20 years. So Susie only missed the first decade. But the results at age 65 are just absolutely terrifying. I mean, Sonia ends up with around $425,000, and Susie, she has closer to $171,000.
The gap is just staggering. And honestly, the breakdown of where that money came from is even more revealing. I mean, Sonia only invested a total of $108,000 of her own hard-earned money over those 3 decades.
Wow.
Yeah, so she benefited from $317,000 in pure, untouched growth. The market literally did 75% of the heavy lifting.
While Susie, who, tried to be the perfect investor, she put in $72,000 of her own money over 20 years, and she only saw about $100,000 in growth. I mean, by trying to outsmart the system and wait for the perfect moment, Susie just incinerated over $250,000 in potential wealth.
Exactly, because time is the primary fuel that compounding requires. You just cannot get those 10 years back, no matter how perfectly optimized your portfolio is when you finally do start.
That massive gap is literally the hidden tax of procrastination. Delaying investing doesn't just, delay your monthly contributions. It permanently removes your money from the steepest part of that compounding curve.
It really does.
So the lesson there is super clear, right? Imperfect action today beats perfect action next decade.
100%.
Which I guess brings us to the actual sequence of operations. Step 1. And I have to be honest, I need to push back hard on this right out of the gate.
Okay, let's hear it.
So step 1 dictates that before you invest a single dime, you must build a cash runway, like an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses, just sitting in a basic bank account.
Right, the runway.
But wait, with inflation sitting at roughly, 3 or 4%, keeping cash in a bank account means I am mathematically losing purchasing power every single day. I mean, isn't hoarding cash just a different type of financial self-sabotage?
Well, I see why you'd say that. You are looking at the math, right? But you are actually optimizing for the wrong variable.
What do you mean?
You were trying to optimize for yield when, at this specific stage, you really need to be optimizing for behavioral guardrails and liquidity.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that.
Yeah.
Because my instinct is always to put every available dollar to work.
So think of your financial journey not as a math equation, but as an engine. Like an airplane engine. Now, an engine needs a cooling system. If you run it at maximum capacity with no coolant, what happens?
It overheats and blows up.
Exactly. It destroys itself. So your cash runway is the coolant. The behavioral economics behind this are actually fascinating because when you have zero cash reserves, financial stress doesn't just make you uncomfortable, it demonstrably reduces your cognitive bandwidth.
Oh, right.
Your brain literally transitions into a state of acute scarcity.
So you're basically operating in survival mode, which means when the stock market inevitably experiences a 20% correction, which, let's be real, happens historically every few years, you don't view it as a normal market cycle. You view it as an existential threat.
Right, and that is exactly when panic sets in.
Yeah.
Imagine the market drops and suddenly you lose your job or your car transmission fails and you have absolutely no liquid cash.
That's a nightmare.
It is, because now you are forced to make a catastrophic decision. You either have to take on high-interest credit card debt at like 25%, which instantly erodes your future wealth, or, even worse, you are forced to sell your investments at a massive loss just to cover your rent.
Which means you are locking in a temporary market fluctuation. Right.
Right.
And you're turning it into a permanent loss of capital.
Yeah.
Stop that compounding snowball dead in its tracks.
Precisely. So by keeping 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash, you are actually buying psychological resilience. You give your investments the undisturbed space they need to grow, just like a plane needs physical space on a runway to safely take off.
Okay, I like that plane analogy.
Yeah, and the scale of that runway really depends on your life situation. Like a tenured professor with really strong job protections, they might only need 3 months. But a freelance graphic designer with, highly variable income and a few dependents, they should probably aim for 6 months or more.
Makes sense.
You essentially absorb that minor loss to inflation in order to prevent a major behavioral catastrophe later on.
It's funny. It's kind of like wearing a seatbelt. I mean, you don't put it on because you want to stop the car. You put it on so you can safely drive fast without, dying if you hit a bump.
That is a perfect way to look at it.
Right. So we are absorbing a 3% inflation hit to prevent a 20% panic selling hit. I'm on board. So once our psychological guardrails are in place, we move to the second step of this sequence. And this is where we actually look for the fastest acceleration possible.
Yes. We are basically looking for an anomaly in the financial system. Because out in the open market, there is really no such thing as a guaranteed return without risk. But there is one specific environment where a risk-free 100% immediate yield legally exists.
And we're talking about employer pension matching, or in the U.S., the 401k match.
Exactly.
Now, most people know about employer matching, sure, but I feel like they treat it as an optional perk, like free coffee in the break room or a discounted gym membership. We really need to reframe how we categorize this. An employer match is not a perk. It is an instantaneous arbitrage.
That is the exact right way to view it. I mean, if your employer offers to match your retirement contributions up to, let's say, 5% of your salary, and you put in that 5%, your money is doubled on day one.
Instantly.
Right. Before that capital is even exposed to the stock market, before it even has a chance to earn a single dividend, it has already achieved a 100% return. I mean, hedge funds spend billions of dollars trying to eke out just a 1% advantage, and you are being offered 100% just for filling out a basic human resources form.
It is literal free money. I mean, I like to ask people, would you ever walk past a crisp $100 bill lying on the sidewalk just because picking it up required an extra signature?
No.
Obviously not. But leaving an employer match unclaimed is the exact same behavior. And it gets even better when you look at how the government treats this money, right?
Oh, yeah. The tax relief aspect is what completely supercharges this step. Because these contributions are typically made pre-tax, meaning the money is taken out of your paycheck before the government even takes their slice.
So not only is your employer doubling your money, but the government is effectively boosting your input by just not taxing it up front.
Exactly.
So the golden rule of step 2 is basically non-negotiable. At an absolute minimum, you must adjust your budget to contribute enough to capture every single penny of that match. Leaving it on the table is just an unforced error of epic proportions.
Which naturally leads us to the next massive inefficiency we have to solve in this sequence. Because, earning the money and getting the match is really only half the battle. Step 3 is about keeping it away from the government.
Tax-efficient accounts.
Yeah.
This part is wild because people will spend weeks agonizing over whether to buy like an S&P 500 index fund or a total world market fund. They will debate expense ratios down to the 100th%.
Oh, totally.
But then they spend zero time thinking about the actual account, like the wrapper that is holding those investments.
It is the ultimate financial blind spot. I mean, you can pick the greatest investment of the decade, but if you hold it in a standard taxable brokerage account, you are creating massive friction for your compounding engine.
Friction.
Because every time that investment pays a dividend, you are taxed. Every time it rebalances, you are taxed. And when you eventually sell it to fund your retirement, you are hit with capital gains tax.
I want to use a mechanical analogy here to explain this friction because it's so important. Think of an ordinary investment app or account like a bucket.
Okay.
You're out there trying to catch rain, which is your investment growth. But if you're using a standard investing app, you're basically using a bucket with a hole in the bottom called taxes. Over 30 years, that hole drastically reduces how much water you actually get to keep.
That's a great visual. And using a tax-advantaged account is like finally plugging that hole. So in the UK, this is an ISA where you can currently shield up to £20,000 a year. Once your money is inside that ISA wrapper, the hole is plugged. No dividend tax, no capital gains tax. You just keep all the rain.
And in the US, the mechanics play out through accounts like the traditional IRA or the Roth IRA. And the difference between those two is fundamentally just a question of when you want to pay the toll on your money.
Right. It's the classic seed versus harvest analogy. So a traditional IRA means you get a tax break right now. You don't pay taxes on the seed you are planting today, but you agree to pay taxes on the entire harvest when you withdraw it in retirement.
Okay, and the Roth.
A Roth IRA is the exact inverse. You pay income tax on the seed today, but the entire harvest, no matter how massively it grows over 30 years, is completely tax-free forever.
The sheer mathematical advantage of having a tax-free harvest after 30 years of compounding is mind-bending. This is exactly why you cannot just, download a trendy trading app, open a basic account, and start buying stocks. You're willingly using the leaky bucket when a perfectly sealed one is sitting right next to it, completely free to use.
You really must spend 20 minutes researching the specific tax wrappers available in your country. It's that important. And once you shield your investments, you move to step 4, which we can really look at as the bonus round.
Because avoiding taxes is playing defense, right?
Yeah.
But step 4 is offensive. This is where you actually get the government to actively fund your lifestyle.
Exactly.
Which, I mean, sounds almost illicit, but there are highly specific specialist accounts where governments will essentially just hand you free capital. Like in the
Yeah.
UK, the lifetime ISA is the perfect example of this. If you are saving for your first home or for retirement, you can put up to £4,000 a year into this account, and the government just straight up gives you a 25% bonus. They just hand you £1,000 a year.
Yeah, and the U.S. equivalent, while structurally a bit different, is the Health Savings Account, or HSA. It is famously referred to in the finance world as the ultimate stealth retirement account because it is triple tax advantaged. Yes, the money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, and as long as it is used for qualifying medical expenses, it comes out tax-free. Literally no other account offers that level of shielding.
But let me just look at this skeptically for a second, right?
Right.
Why on earth would a government just hand out 25% cash bonuses for a lifetime IS? Or create a triple tax-free loophole for healthcare? I mean, governments are not exactly known for their altruism. What is the macroeconomic incentive for them to just give away this revenue?
Well, governments are basically managing risk on a national scale. They are looking at demographic cliffs, aging populations, underfunded state pensions, and completely overwhelmed national health services. From a macroeconomic perspective, an unsupported aging citizen is incredibly expensive for the state.
Ah, I see. So if you reach retirement and you cannot afford housing or you can't afford your medical bills, that burden ultimately falls on the taxpayers.
Exactly. So the government is doing a very cold, calculated cost-benefit analysis here. It is vastly cheaper for them to just bribe you with a 25% bonus today or give you a tax loophole like an HSA if it ensures you are self-sufficient 30 years from now.
Wow.
They are paying you right now so you don't become a multi-million-dollar liability to the state later.
That reframes the entire concept.
Yeah.
It's not a gift at all. It is a systemic bribe to take care of yourself. And frankly, we should absolutely be accepting that bribe.
Without hesitation, which is why you prioritize these specialist accounts immediately after your employer match and your basic tax wrappers. If you are eligible, you capture those incentives.
Okay, let's recap the sequence so far just to make sure we have it locked in. We built the cash runway to protect our psychology and prevent panic selling.
Check.
We captured the employer match to secure risk-free 100% returns. Then, we patched the leaks in our compounding engine by using tax-efficient wrappers like ISAs or IRAs.
All right.
And we collected the government's systemic bribes through specialist accounts.
Right.
So what happens when we've done all of that? The VIP tax lanes are completely full, and we still have capital to deploy.
Well, only then do we finally arrive at step 5, the long game. This is where the standard regular investment account finally comes into play. The general brokerage account.
The leaky bucket.
Yes, you are back to the bucket with the tax holes. You will absolutely be paying taxes on dividends and capital gains here. But the reason this step exists is because the VIP tax advantage lanes have really rigid rules.
Right, they lock your money up.
Exactly. You can't touch retirement accounts without huge penalties until you are in your late 50s or 60s. The lifetime ISA is strictly for a first home or retirement, so tax wrappers demand a serious sacrifice of accessibility.
So step 5 offers supreme flexibility then. The capital in a regular brokerage account is completely unrestricted.
It is total liquid freedom. If you have a financial goal that exists outside the government's approved timeline, like say you want to start a business in 8 years, or you want to take a 2-year sabbatical in your 40s, you need capital that isn't locked behind some age restriction.
I see this as kind of the dessert of the financial meal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it tastes great because you have total freedom and flexibility to buy index funds or shares or whatever. But you absolutely shouldn't eat it until you've finished your tax-advantaged vegetables.
That is exactly it. You maximize the tax-advantaged accounts to secure your baseline future, and you use the standard brokerage account to fund your midterm life ambitions. The order is what creates the security.
Right.
A high salary with no structure will just bleed wealth through taxes, panic sell-offs during recessions, and missed employer matches. But a moderate salary deployed through this exact sequence will reliably produce multi-million-dollar net worths over time.
It all circles back to where we started this deep dive. The sequence does the heavy lifting, not your raw income, but more importantly, time does the heavy lifting. Which, brings us back to Susie, our highly analytical procrastinator who lost out on hundreds of thousands of dollars just because she wanted to understand every single variable before she started.
Yeah, finance is one of the few disciplines where a B-minus strategy executed consistently for 30 years will mathematically obliterate an A-plus strategy executed for 10 years.
Wow, yeah.
You don't need to be brilliant, you just need to be early and you need to be consistent.
It really makes you wonder how much of our lives are governed by that exact same trap.
Yeah.
We just spent this entire conversation realizing that building lasting wealth is dictated far more by behavioral psychology, like setting up a cash runway to prevent panic and defeating the urge to procrastinate, than it is by raw mathematical intellect.
It's so true. The mechanics are surprisingly simple. It's the human behavior that gets really complicated.
Which leaves us with a somewhat uncomfortable question to reflect on as we wrap up today. If we use research and preparation as excuses to delay our financial security, what other areas of your life are you needlessly over-intellectualizing instead of simply starting?
That's a great question.
Are you waiting for the perfect moment to change careers or to prioritize your health or even to fix a relationship? Because as we saw today, the hidden tax of waiting for perfection is always far more expensive than the cost of starting imperfectly. Thank you so much for joining us for this exploration. It's been an incredible shift in perspective. We will catch you next time as we continue to unravel the hidden mechanics behind the things that shape our world. Take care.